Welcome back, everyone. I don't know why I always do that, but it is another great month here of training at rss.com. I'm Greg Wasserman. I'm the head of relationships for rss.com. And I don't know, I love doing these trainings and bringing on amazing experts and guests. Today, I guess the joys of podcasting is it's truly international. So if you've tuned in before, we've had someone from Italy talking about podcast SEO. We've got here my friend Colin Gray, who is the founder of Alitu. So we've talked about, and he's coming from Scotland. So we've had the ability to talk about podcast editing. We've talked about audio. And now Colin is going to be able to show off one tool that is allowing you to do all of those different components. So I'm excited to bring him on. I'll let him introduce himself. But if you have not watched those previous episodes, I highly recommend Pod SEO and recording and editing with Steve Stewart and oh my God, Joe. No, Joel. Oh, wow. I'm sorry, Joel. I'm blanking on your last name. But let me bring in Colin here and welcome to the show. Hey, Colin.
Hey, how are you getting on, Greg?
Well, clearly forgetting names this early in the morning, but that's usually how it rolls. Remember the facts, but I can't remember the names. But other than that, doing all right. And I think
It's
I'm really excited to have everyone start learning from you because A, you've been in the game for a while. And B, what you've built, I think, is one tool that is really going to help a lot of people um, figure out how to record and edit and then use a tool like rss.com for the hosting component. So, yeah, introduce yourself or welcome to the training here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so hi, Colin Gray, as you said, I started a site called The Podcast Host about 15 years ago now, just to write about podcasting. It became one of the biggest resources in the web just around how to run a podcast, really, over the kind of following 5 years or so. And then we started Alitu as well. So Alitu is our podcast maker app, which is all about editing, really making podcast editing and creation much easier. And I can show a bit about that during this presentation. But yeah, our goal really is just to make podcasting as easy as humanly possible. And we do that through content, through teaching, and through software.
Incredible. You're right. How do we make it as easy as possible? Because too often podcasters are overwhelmed. They're fading out. And so if we can give them the tools and the trainings here to make sure that that's an easy thing for them, um, that is why hopefully everyone that's tuning in, that's you're going to walk away with. So without further ado, you want to jump on in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Floor is
All
yours.
righty. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So yeah, the goal of today is a big part of it. Obviously, is keeping your listeners engaged, and a huge part of that, really, to me, is about workflow. The way I often think about this is around making you into a tireless podcaster. So I love this phrase, being a tireless podcaster, or even creating an immortal podcast, a podcast that'll just live forever. You know, it's just going to be around forever because you can just do it. It makes it so ridiculously easy to create every week. And your recording and your editing workflow, you know, it's so well set, it's so minimal that you barely think about it at all. And that means that you can do what you do best, which is actually plan the content. You know, it's actually create the content, is speak to your listeners and engage them, keep those listeners engaged. So just to give a wee bit of background before we jump right into it, I mean, most podcasts, when they fail, a biggest part of it is we've talked to so many podcasters over the years, thousands of podcasters, and the biggest thing that often kills podcasts is complication in your gear and your tools. And one of the biggest parts of that is editing. Editing does kill more podcasts than anything else in my experience. It's what we so often hear people complaining about when they say they're giving up their podcast. It's a bottomless pit of time. It's a confusing mess of technology. It's just a stack of frustration. And we've also got the gear as well, never mind the software. Then that's more technology, more complications. But it just takes you away from so many things that actually matter more, like self-improvement. You know, sometimes we spend so much of our time on editing that we never actually get that much better at speaking. or process as well, like how to set it up so that it's seamless and thoughtless every single week to actually create your podcast. Or at least that thought goes towards the bit that matters, like I say, which is engaging your listeners. And then we've got that perfectionism that creeps in as well. That's often why editing takes so long. So today, that's the goal, is to take you through 3 steps to actually combat this. Give you a lot of tips around the workflow, the mindset, and I'll start a wee bit on the gear, but I know that most people here actually don't need much of that because you'll already be started on that. So, it's the mindset, the process, and the tools. No doubt you've got a bit of the gear in place, but we'll jump into it very quickly, just in case anyone wants that. So, we'll start that very quickly. The thing I always recommend people is just the easiest possible gear at all. And often that comes down to the Q2U. The Samsung Q2U is the simplest bit of gear that we always recommend for podcasters. It's so simple. It's so easy. It's a USB mic that just plugs in. And if you do want an upgrade on that, you've got the Rode Podcaster there. The Rode Podcaster, another USB mic. That's the one I'm using right now. There are 2 options. And really, that is what you want to do. You just want to set up a USB mic that just works. It's always there. It's always set up. It's always functioning. And it just goes. The one in the middle, actually, I do need to update that one now because actually Rode have much better lav mics. They've got their wireless mics. They've got the Rode Wireless Mic Pro, things like that actually just clip onto your shirt and they wirelessly connect up to your phone. Really, I've got that in there for anyone out there who wants to record in person. So if you want to ask a question about that, my goal is to leave a bit of time at the end for Q&A. If you want to jump into them as well, any more questions around gear or technology like this, just let me know. But yeah, the Rode Wireless Micro is a great little mic, plugs into your phone, and you have 2 little mics that plug into, that's clipped to your shirt and the other person's shirt at the same time. And it means you can do an in-person interview. But if you're doing online calls or online presentations like this, go with something like the Q2U or the Podcaster. And that's what you want to stick with. So let's jump past that. Obviously, happy to come back to any questions about that if you want. But this is the important part, really. Part 2 is jumping into the mindset around recording. So to me, there's 2 parts to this. First is the mindset here, and the second part is the process. I'll get to the process in a minute. But this is a mindset that I teach to just about any podcaster that we work with, and it works really well with the tools that I recommend as well. It places a whole lot of value on improving you as a podcaster and relies on great tools that take care of many parts of the detail. So you end up presenting imperfectly, potentially. You take care of the big glitches, mostly automatically, and then you put it out there. You review that, and then you get better at presenting. And it's all about creating sustainability through practice and presentation improvement as well. And what does that mean? Well, what it means to record nonstop here. And I call it the going live mindset. So it's all about really trying to cut out that perfectionism, because this is the part that really kills podcasters. It's when you hit record and you end up doing take after take, you make a little mistake and you stop and you restart it and you just keep going like that. And it takes you twice as long to record as it should. You never feel like you get into flow, really, as a podcaster. And it comes across as well. Whether it's interviews, whether it's a solo one, whether it's co-hosted, this can befall anyone. And what you do is instead you go with the live recording mindset. Live recording mindset means get rid of that perfectionism. Don't care about, try not to use editing as a crutch. And instead, what happens is you end up with all of those mistakes to fix. You end up with this, which I call the wall of waves, because there's just so many things in here that you have to fix. All these edits, all these fixes, all these terrible things that you have to try and fix. Instead, you record nonstop. You just go, and if you make any little mistakes, you just pause and you say, whoops, didn't mean to say that, and you continue on. And that's what happens. That's how it works. You just try and pretend you're on a live thing like this. If I make a mistake right now, I have to just tell you I've made a mistake and go back and tell you the right thing. And actually, it's fine, because what do people really want when they're listening to a podcast? They want actually you. They want the human. They want the real live you that's imperfectly perfect in many ways. So that's what you're looking for, is record nonstop. Now, there's a few things that come into that as well. So what happens if you get to a point where you're making some mistakes that you really need to actually fix? So when it comes down to it, you're recording as in live, you're going with that plan, imperfect mindset, all of that kind of stuff. what you want to do is try and think about every time you record, review it, listen back. You're going to go in and edit, and I'll show you some of the tools around editing just in a moment as well. But what you're doing is you're kicking away that editing crutch, and you're actually thinking about how to improve it, how to take those ums and ahs out of your speech, how to take out those crutch words, how to improve your cadence, your presentation skills, all of those kind of things. So it's all about that sustainable improvement. What do you do though if you actually do make a mistake that just won't stand? Sometimes you do say something, maybe it's a wrong URL, maybe it's a wrong message altogether, a wrong name, and actually you're like, okay, I can't just skim past that. Instead, there's two ways you can get around that. So one is click editing. So this is the kind of traditional way to do it. Some people still like this better. I'll show you another way in a second that works well with modern tools. But click editing is a way where when you make a mistake, you just pause for a couple of seconds, and then you just click your tongue into the microphone 3 times like that. And then you pause again, and then you start again. Or you can do claps. That works just as well. And what happens is it shows up on the presentation just like this. So you can see it there in the presentation, so that you in the waveform, so that you can then go back and fix it. And this means that you don't have to listen through the whole thing. This is one of the things that kills you, listening to a 60-minute episode just to cut out a few mistakes. Instead, you can skim through that waveform. You can see these visually really easily, and you can cut them out. And that works quite nicely. Then there's a modern version of that, which is bookmarks. And this works in modern editing, which I'll go into in just a second as well. So instead, what you want to do is find your own personal signal. What I do is I say edit point. I find if I say edit on its own, it doesn't really work for me. Often it doesn't quite get that word right when it's on its own. And because I do a podcast, we talk about editing a lot. So it's not necessarily a unique one. But if I say edit point, it shows up in the transcript. And again, I'll show you that in just a second in the actual tool. So that's the idea, is to do that going live mindset, to record as if you're going live, to try and take out some of that perfectionism so that you're just going for it. You're getting into flow. You're feeling much more confident about speaking. You're trying to improve your own speaking style over time. And then we use the tools to help you to improve that over time as well. So to help you fix some of the mistakes that we can do automatically. So let me just show you that now. So I'm just going to go through that workflow. What does that actually look like in real time? So here in Alitu, I'm just going to widen that up a little bit. Let's say we want to record. So I'm going to go in here and record. I'm going to the recording studio. I'm going to record an intro, and then I've got an interview to show you as well. So I'll go in here into recording studio. And what I'll do is I'll just record a quick little intro. So something like what we would do for our podcast, which is, hey folks, and welcome to Podcraft. This is the show all about how to run a successful podcast. I'm Colin Gray from thepodcasthost.com and Alitu, and I'm joined as always by my guest, Matthew. So that's my intro. So I'll stop recording there. You can use this to record calls as well. So you can invite guests in here, and you can do your full call recording right in here as well. And if I go over to my library, you'll see we've got a few demos in here. We've got a few other recordings. And what I'll do now is I'll go and I'll get that call, and we'll create a new episode. And I'll show you the editing process too, just to put that into action. So here, I'm going to add from my library that call recording I just made. So this is the intro that I just recorded. And I've got as well this demo here, which is an interview that I recorded in the past. So I'm going to bring both of those in. So now we're into the audio editor. So this is the episode builder. And there's a couple of things here. I'm talking about making your workflow better. So one is that it can add your music automatically. So we're going to choose an intro. So I'm going to my free music library, look through all of the music here. I can find something here that suits me. So I can listen through any of these. There's all packages that come with intro and outros, but also loops that you can use in the background, and also transitions, like short transitions to go between segments. So I'll add that intro to my episode, and I'll ask it to remember that for next time. So from now on, that bit of intro music will always add into the episode automatically. And what I can do is I can also add, once this is finished processing, so that's just cleaning up. I'll talk to that in a second. But once that's finished, I'll be able to do a transition as well, which means an overlap. In fact, let's talk about that while it's doing it. So the cleanup is handled for you automatically too. This is a big part of something that's changed over the last couple of years in podcasting, and that we can get away with so much more in terms of room quality, in terms of mic quality. You still want to capture good quality content. You don't want to be just in a noisy room with loads of background noise, but AI cleanup now is really good. It can help you if there's mistakes made. So you don't have to worry so much about compression, about leveling, about EQ, all of those things. Instead, you can let the machines worry about that stuff. And for the most part, it nearly always comes out really well. And you can change the options in there too. There's a few different options in the show settings which let you actually go into whether you want voice enhancement, so that's the EQ. You've got bandwidth extension, background noise reduction. If you want the background noise taken out, like dog barks and all that kind of stuff, it's all the dynamic noises too, as well as breath sounds. So there's a bunch of options in there around the type of cleanup that you can run. So you can tweak that to your own preferences too. Now, what shall we do? So let's jump into editing, and I'll show you the editing. I'll come back out and I'll show you the transitions once the intro has processed, once it's all cleaned up. Now, in the editing, this is an interview that I recorded. You can see that there's a transcript and there's a waveform. So the goal is to make it really easy to go through and skim through the transcript so that you can do the broad strokes and cut out your big mistakes. This is where I then do a search. So I'll click the search button at the bottom and I'll type in edit point. And I can see here, this was an interview Matthew and I did for Podcrafts. This is actually a real one where Matthew had been a bit ill that week and he started coughing. So he was like, sorry, I was trying to avoid that, edit point. So I can see that. All right, what would we jump to next? And then we restart here. So from there. So all I can do is highlight that part. There we go, and cut that out. And you can see that was highlighted up on the waveform as well. So I can go up to the waveform, I can open it back up, I can see exactly what was cut. I can press the preview button to listen to it as well. So probably won't be coming through my mic, but that is showing me a preview of it so I can hear what it sounds like. And I can zoom in. If I think it's not quite perfect, I can adjust the edges just to get it exactly right if I want to. And that helps me actually get the detail there. I can go back here. I can make sure that is in the gap at the start. And there, it looks all good to me. So I can adjust that to get in there and then cut there. There we go. So that's the edit made. You can also edit straight on the waveform as well. So if you're listening through, you can just pick apart, drag, and actually do that cut as well. Click the preview to hear what it sounds like and then cut that out. So that's how the basic editing works. That's how you just zoom through and you can edit stuff really simply. A few other tools in here. You can use the bleep tool to bleep out anything you want. So that will bleep that part out without cutting the space. You've got a mute part. So if you want to edit a place out, but you don't want to actually make everything come closer together, we've got a mute tool that you can do that with there. So mute that, just creates a muted space. And then we've got a clip tool as well. So if you're coming through here and you're listening to a part and you think that's a great clip, actually, I want to bring that out and actually turn it into a clip to be able to export and publish on short form media, on social media, whatever it might be. You can choose a clip. You can preview that clip, and then you can export that to your library so that you can use that in your library for anything you like. And the final couple of things here, just worth mentioning to speed your things up, to speed your work up. So in terms of workflow, one of the biggest ones is the ums and the ahs. So I do suggest you should be working to improve these. This is the reflection part, like listening back. But a good way to do that is actually to use magic filters. Take out unneeded silences, take out ums and ahs there, apply those filters, and it'll show you where they all are. So I can zoom in now. I can pick a few of those. I can see how they sound. I can see whether there are things that I really want to cut out. In fact, what I'll do is let me just change that to only ums and ahs for the moment, just to get a couple of them. So go to this and ah. So there's obviously a little there. So I can preview that. I can hear what it sounds like. I can restore it to hear what the actual is like. So I can go through and I can listen to it and see what's there. And it can really teach me what I'm doing, what these filler words are, and help me to cut them out of I can cut them out automatically here, obviously, at this point, but I can cut them out more effectively from my speech over time as well, which is great because it improves you as a presenter. And then that works for real live presentations in future too. Okay, so that's the editing part. Come back out and the intro is finished. So now you can see if I go in there, you'll see it's just the short clip that I recorded, that little intro. I could turn on the transcript if I want, come back out. And the transition now, if I go there, I can now set an overlap. So I can set it to overlap by, let's say, 3-4 seconds. So the music plays a little bit behind the voice as I'm coming in. So it lets you make a really nice little intro to your show. Music plays for a few seconds, then it plays behind the voice for a few seconds, and then it fades out. And you can do that automatically every time. So that's the episode builder. That's the workflow for recording, right into editing, and then into publishing. So you can now build that episode and then go to publishing. And I can show you that in a second as well. So I'll build that episode for the moment. Right, let me flick back to these slides for a moment, and then I'll go into the second part of this. Now, I've already gone through, so I'll just flick through back to where we were, the point we'd gotten to. Because the next stage really is, there's a big part of it is around that minimum effective editing. So there is a big part around podcasters really obsessing around that audio editing, thinking like an audio engineer. So many of the tools we used to use in the olden days are really audio engineering tools. They're, DAWs, as we call them, to make music, and you obsess over every little mistake. So that's a big part we're trying to get away from here, because there's such a steep learning curve in those. And that's a big part of what this tool was built to solve. So instead of focusing on that, really what we're wanting to do is to have that repeatable, that minimal process. Review and clean up the ums, use them automatically that way, and then hopefully review them so that you can actually create less the next time around. So that's a big part of that goal. Because I would say that this statement is so true for 99% of podcasters. Your time is much better spent growing your audience than on spending tons of time in that editing. All right, I'm going to pause there. Greg, will we jump into, or any questions come up at this point, just to check? So see if there's any questions.
There we go. There are.
Greg, I've lost your audio there, actually. I'm not sure if that's just me or not. But...
No, I muted myself instead of unmuting it. There you go. Sorry.
Perfect.
How important, so you talked about intros and how important it is to have an intro, which in my take, it's very important. It sets it up, but is it good practice to keep it the same or include it in the live recording? Right? So if you do the same recording, do I insert that? Is Alitu allowing me to do that, or should you do as you did as the intro here? It's like, all right, I'm just going to record it live, and it's going to be that every time.
I usually recommend doing it live every time. I think that when you end up recording it was kind of a fashion in the 2010s, wasn't it, for podcasting? It was the early days. We were taking something from radio, I think, where we'd have something pre-made. And in fact, good friends of ours, Music Radio Creative, that was their thing actually, and they did such good intros where you get a real radio voice and music and proper treatment on it. So all sorts of effects and stuff. And it was this 30-second clip you'd play every single time. I think these days, I mean, even then, really, it was the power of podcasting is the people, it's the human behind it. And something that becomes quite artificial and repetitive like that, I just don't think serves the podcasting audience the best. I think it's something that really you want to be doing differently a little bit every single time. You want to have your standard intro, but you want it to be tied into the show so that people aren't skipping it every single time, because otherwise they skip the other parts as well. What I tend to recommend is a structure around, welcome to the show, which is a podcast specific intro, which is about 10 to 15 seconds long. So, hey, and welcome to Podcraft. This is the show all about running a successful show. Whether you're at launch stage to growth stage, we've got it all for you here. So that's really quickly, what is the show about? What topic do we cover, and who is it for? That is really the important things to get in there in that part, but get through that as quick as you can, because really what they're here for is the episode. And the episode intro is the part that matters, because the episode intro is the part that creates the retention. That's the part that actually hooks them into listening to that whole episode through, rather than dropping off and going to listen to someone else. So 10, 15 seconds max, with a little bit of music, by all means. So, but the music should only really play for a few seconds before the intro, I believe. So music kicks in, maybe 2 or 3 seconds of music that's recognizable, that becomes your audio brand, that people think, yay, this is one of my favorite shows. I recognize this music. And then your voice kicks in with that maybe 10-second, 15 max podcast intro. And then within 20 seconds, you're into the episode intro. So there's barely any time for them to lose interest. And you're then giving them the value. You're then saying, this is why you should listen to this episode. This is why you should get hooked into this episode and stay with me for the next hour.
So from that standpoint, if I'm hearing it, then like if we did a recording, you and and I see this, and this is probably what I'll do on mine, is record the episode, and then based on what we've talked about, the conversation, I'm going to go and then record after that and go, okay, let me do a recording of what is this episode? What did we talk about? Right? Well, that's a very different kind of intro, and you're not doing that live. You're coming back, editing that into that, right? Is that kind of what we're saying?
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah. So for an interview, often that's a great approach. Yeah, absolutely, Greg. But you're still doing that. You're not doing it in the actual interview, but you're still doing it live each time. You're recording, you're giving the podcast intro, and then you're jumping straight into the episode introduction directly from that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Whereas I think the alternative method that some people use, or certainly did use more in the olden days, was a 30-second, sometimes even 45 or 60-second pre-baked introduction for the podcast that has nothing to do with the episode, and actually tended to turn people off, I think, over time.
Gotcha. Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the only other
Cool.
comment that we're missing here is you got a huge thumbs up on that Samson Q2U.
Perfect. Good
uh,
stuff. Yeah, it's a great little mic. Okay, good stuff. Well, what I'll do then is I'll just show you the rest of the workflow. So let me go to, and then we'll come back, and that should only take another 5 minutes or so, and then we've got plenty of time for any questions people want to jump in otherwise. So let me go in here. So what happens next? Now that that episode has been created, so what I'll do is I'll show you the publishing. So let's go from scratch. So let's go add to library. I'm going to put in intro, go for it, build the episode. And what happens from here is that you end up with an episode that looks something like this. So the publishing page for the episode comes out like this, whereby you get a space to preview, so you can listen to what the episode turned out like. You can skip through if you need to. You can show the waveform view if you want, just to get an idea. And what we've got here is a few different things. We've got the standard stuff: episode title, season number, episode description. We can generate these with AI as well. So you can get a starting point. What I generally recommend with that is that I quite like it. The moment my workflow looks like, I'll record, I'll get to this point, and I'll get the transcript made. So over here, this button before the transcript is created says create transcript. So you do that, you get the transcript generated, and then you can come in and you can have a look at the transcript if you need to, add the speaker names. And then from there, you can say, write me an initial title and description with AI. And I'll get 2 or 3 title suggestions, and I'll get 2 or 3 description suggestions as well. And generally, I would never recommend just going with the first go at that. And I think, I think most podcasters would agree with that. It's a first draft. That's what I'm using AI for just now in this case. It gives me a way to avoid the blank page initially. I get an episode title I can work with. I get 3 different ideas. And generally, I can come up with a better tweak. I can refine it. It gives me some ideas. Sometimes it tells me what not to do as well. So I can avoid that one because I just don't think that one's great and go a different direction. And I end up writing my own title there. And similar with the description, it gives me a starting point that I can then tweak, I can change, I can redraft, all of those things. I could have put them in there. So that gives me at least a starting point that saves quite a lot of time on the description. From there, you can also put your chapters in too. You can have your chapters generated automatically with AI as well. And again, I would suggest click that generate with AI button, get them generated. And then quite often I find that AI tools will create more chapters than you really need, but it'll give you the broad strokes. So you can delete down, you can use the bin button to get rid of a couple of the ones that you think are, that's not really a whole section, that's just a part of a larger section. So you can refine down like that. And you can adjust the names as well so that it more suits your voice. But it's a great way to get those chapters in, to get the description written, the title written, and then tweak it into your voice from there. From here, you can also create a video. So you can create a video version of it if you want to publish it to YouTube. We do video recording, and we've currently got video editing under beta testing at the moment as well, actually. That's available to any users that want to use it right now. So you can record in video in the recording studio, and then you can edit in video in the editor. The editor that I showed you before, you just see a video window in the bottom right. So within the next month or so, we'll have that fully public. But if anyone wanted to use that just now, they just have to get in touch with support and they can have a go with it and have a shot. And then when that's ready, the Create Video will actually create a full video edited version that you can publish full face to camera, the conversation to YouTube as well. We've got all the standard stuff here as well around publishing date, scheduling it ahead of time, being able to embed your player on your own website and stuff like that as well. And that covers it. So that's publishing. And once you hit the publish button up here, you end up with an episode page on the website. So you get your own podcast website here, subscription links, play buttons, all that kind of stuff. And that's you live. So that's the full workflow, start to finish. For publishing your podcast in a simpler way, hopefully in a way that helps you become a bit more tireless, turn it into an immortal podcast. So let me go back to the slides. I'll just bring these up and I'll flick through, but I hope that covers it all. So any questions that you want to go into, we've got plenty of time here if you want to go into more workflow questions or anything else as well. I'm happy to talk through, but that is the workflow. And if you want to try out the tool as well, you're welcome to join up using that code. So we work with RSS, obviously, good friends over there. You can use that code rss.com to get your first month for free. So you can try out Alitu for free if you want to, using that discount code. And we'd love to see you over there and help you make your podcast a lot more successful, a lot more easy to create as well. And something we've just launched recently, actually, which you might be interested in, is our Alitu Success community, where we have courses and support and coaching all in there as well. We've got a full launch mastery course. So if any of you are still at that launch stage, you've just signed up with RSS and you're just getting ready to actually put it out there, then we fully link up. And we want to get that out to as much of that audience as we can and help you get your editing much easier, much simpler, and skip weeks of that learning and editing time. All right, perfect. Greg, what do you think in terms of questions? Any other questions that have popped in as we go as well?
Yeah, so much to cover. I'll bring in some of these questions here. So we've got Rick here. So he's planning to start his podcast using Alitu in January. His plans to record the podcast episodes using Audacity, then uploading to Alitu. Is it better to record directly to Alitu?
We've built it, so we're very platform agnostic. So you can use it. The editing really is our core. So we work with RSS all the time because RSS hosting is great, and so we're currently integrating with RSS for our hosting as well, so that we can help push people's edited episodes from Alitu to your RSS hosting, which is going to be brilliant to have that integration in place. And similarly with the recording, if you record elsewhere, you're welcome to record elsewhere and then upload that recording to Alitu. Really, editing is where we shine. That's really where we put all of our effort. And the other two tools are in there if people need them. But if you want to use something else, absolutely you can do. But you're welcome to use our call recording if you want to. It's equivalent to the other call recording platforms out there. It's dual ender, so double ender, you should say. Sorry. So it does record locally on both ends, so you get full quality. It's fully backed up and safe. So yep. Can be a platform you use, but as I said, we're pretty platform agnostic and try and push just our editing really as the biggest part of the benefit we offer.
Awesome. And that goes to here, Colin answered your question, Daily Sip Show here does it replace? No, it actually, that's the whole joys is Alitu is the recording, editing side of it. And then we're working on the integration. So it directly will be able to publish into your RSS.com account. Otherwise, you're going to take that audio file download it, and then upload it to your rss.com account.
Yeah. Yeah, the current goal, I think we've been talking about this, Greg, is like I love RSS's features around monetization particularly. I think that's where you guys shine. And that's why this sort of made so much sense to try and build an integration together. Because I believe we'll be able to create something which is something around like the easiest way to make your first dollar with podcasting, because we'll make it easy for you to create it, record, and edit, and then we publish to RSS, and you guys can help the audience to either podcast or to monetize it on the other end.
100%. Let's see what we've got here. Advice or recommendations on the best recording platform and physical environment to use when recording a two-person episode from two different locations. Video and sound quality suggestions.
Okay, so tell me that again, Greg. Didn't quite catch that. So it's sound suggestions for.
Recording best platform for a physical environment to use when recording a two-person episode from two different locations, which it's interesting
Oh,
because
yeah,
best recording platform and physical environment, right? So we're talking about
yeah, that's
what am I
fine.
looking
Yeah,
for? Like you and I right now, we're in two different
yeah.
places. If we were going to record this, does Alitu allow you to do that, or are you going to record it in something else?
Yeah, good question. So you can record in a platform like Alitu or otherwise. You can record in person. You just need to figure out a setup which lets you plug a couple of microphones in, essentially. So you could do that with a USB interface if you're in person. So if you're sitting in the same room as somebody, you get a roadcaster potentially and plug two mics into that, and that lets you record into two microphones into the one physical device that then goes in by USB to your computer and records into the call recorder in Alitu. Or you can use like I said, the Rode Mic Mini. I always forget the names. The Rode mics are so unmemorable in terms of their naming conventions, but it's the Rode Wireless Mic Mini, I believe it's called. It's a great little tool. You can plug that in, actually. There's ways to plug that into your computer as a mic, and then use the two little lav mics to record a podcast as well. But equally, you can record it, at a distance as well. So you can record with two people in a call in this way. So I hope that answers the question. But if there's more clarification around the kind of physical versus digital, just let me know.
I hope that answered the question, but I mean, if I was reading it and thinking about the question, yeah, you answered the fact that you could use your tool for both, either a virtual recording, as we're
Yeah.
doing here, two different places, two different countries for that matter, or if you want to use it and how to set it up for a physical space as well. Um, One thing I wanted to touch on is I loved your walls of waves. I think so many need to think about that, right? If we're looking at it editing, or if you're turning over to someone for editing, uh, understanding what it looks like, the overwhelm of just looking at all of those waveforms and how you can do a better job. I mean, I know I'm incredibly guilty. If you were to record me, I've got a lot of ums, I've got a lot of likes. Case in point, uh, I'm the kind of person who thinks by talking, so I got to get better at slowing that down, which makes it easier then from an editing standpoint. So when you think about the walls of waves, it's like, wow, that just helps you understand this is a skill, and that's why I always say podcasting. Even if you're trying to figure out how to monetize it, any component of podcasting is going to make you a better speaker, better communicator, which only helps you overall in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the best side effects of podcasting to me is the fact that you just get better at presenting, at speaking in general, but also even just the kind of side effects of being able to organize your thoughts and think on the fly and improvise and all those things that just make you better. Not only if you're having to do a little presentation in work, or present a report to just even a few team members, right up to a proper on stage in front of dozens of people or even hundreds. All of that can be improved, but it's even just like conversations with friends and conversations with meeting new people, that kind of thing. Like I've always found that podcasting, having these conversations, practicing speaking to people, and having them public just makes you think more about the way you do that, about how you improve that. And then when you come in and bring in some more of this live recording mindset type approach, when you start to think about, I shouldn't be using the tools necessarily to as a crutch. I find so many people do that. I want to use them to inform me, to make my life easier, to make my life quicker. But over time, I'm going to get better at this, and then I'll actually need to support the tools less. Like almost put myself out of a job here. But the goal is to need the tools less and less as your presentation skills improve. So yeah, that's the goal for me at least.
No, I mean, if we think about fading out, if we think about the component of starting a podcast, I mean, that's the joys of us doing this, of working together, right?
Mhm.
So you've got a amazing tool in Alitu to help you edit, record. You've got a tool like RSS.com to help you publish and monetize. And now, if you think about how can I continue to podcast? What is the value of it? A, you're going to make money
Yeah,
and monetize your show with all the different functions that RSS.com has for your monetization.
yeah,
But you're gonna get, if you can continue to be consistent, you can continue to just push, publish, and record. You're going to improve so many more of your skill sets than the fear of how do I grow my podcast? How do I make money? Think about all the amazing skills, connections, conversations, legacy that you're leaving behind with a podcast.
yeah, definitely, definitely. I've just spotted another couple of questions come in there, Greg. Shall we jump into them?
Yeah, which
There's
one did I miss?
Gordon. No, they're probably afterwards. Actually, I think they're more recent. So yeah, all good. There's one around: are you using AI to help you brainstorm ideas for episodes? And yeah, that's something I am definitely doing a little bit of. It's kind of definitely using it as a thinking partner. So to say, here are a few ideas that I've had for episodes. How could I break this down? Or what's kind of parallel topics to this? Or I rarely use it, and I try not to be honest, to come up with ideas from scratch. Like just say, what can I, here's a podcast about podcasting. What could we talk about next? Because I feel like it just kind of, the ideas always end up very bland in that way. I find that the best way to use it, and probably a way that retains your own creativity in a better way as well, is to use it as a what would you call it? A critical friend. So you come up with, even if it's just some basic ideas, just some harebrained ideas, you pop them in and then work from some of your own initial ideas. I find it's often a better creative partner. Is that something you found, Greg, or do you use it much for that kind of concept, for that conceptualization?
It's different, right? So your show's podcasting, and I think the joys about that is it's in every conversation you have. Like I think about our community and the post I put on LinkedIn, the post I put into the RSS.com's community. Most of that's coming from conversations I'm either having with professionals like yourself that are in the industry, or coming
Mhm.
from conversations you're having with podcasters. And it's just like a brainstorm comes just from there, and like that becomes the most authentic of like, all right, even though I've said this 1,000 times based on the fact that I just had this conversation with someone and they clearly didn't get the other 1,000 times I've said it, means I've got to continue to say that. And it's a reminder of and that always becomes the reminder of the fact that you think you've talked about something so many times, and that's usually when you've doubled down and continue to talk about it, because even if you've put out your podcast 100, 200, 300 episodes and you've got whatever downloads you've got, doesn't mean that the person you're talking to today has listened to that episode, has heard that message, which just means I've got to reaffirm that and let others know. And sometimes they'll be like, oh my God, I've heard Colin say this 1,000 times. But then you've got the person who says, oh, wow, I've never heard this. Or maybe it just took Colin saying it 1,001 times for them to realize, now I get it, and that's usually where we're at in just as a human brain capacity and understanding.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I use AI as a clutch all the time, but for concept of the show, it's more of the questions, and I think my show's different than your show, so I'll use it at going like, all right, this is what I know about this person, this is what I want to discuss with this person. Give me some insights and questions that I may be able to come up with. And just like anything with AI, it's editing, it's filtering, and going like, all right, I'll take this with a grain of salt.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, spot on with that. It's always a first draft. It's always the first idea, and then you kind of put the humanity behind it. Then I
And
see.
that's where we're at.
Yeah, go on. Go on.
Oh no, go for it.
I was going to say, so I see Daily stop show. Is that what it says there? It's very small. It says if we join Alitu, will the interface come online? And if it takes weeks or months, I think you're talking about the beta test there. So yeah, the video editing is well, it's been a long road. We've been building video editing for about 6 months now, so it's really nice to get it out there. And we've got it out just this past week, so it's working really nicely. And the way it'll work is anyone who joins up at the moment can use it. So if you just get in touch with support, you can use our video editing at the moment, and it'll be fully public in January. So it'll be within the next month, essentially. And it says, can we get credit to test drive? Yeah, so yeah, if you use your free month, actually, so if you use the coupon code here, you can join up for the 3 month and you can use it for that month. Absolutely. Yeah, just get in touch with support.
Another thing I wanted to call out wasn't a question, but it was
Mm.
I love the click trick, right? And I think it's
Oh, yeah.
not talked about enough where how do we how do we do things? Here's a good example. We went live. I totally blinked on Joel Oliver's name. I'm sorry, Joel. And so in that moment, you start panicking, going, "Oh, I can't remember his name." So either I can do the
Yeah.
click trick and go, "Okay, remember to edit this and go back in there," or as you said, you record live. You know what? I'm sorry, I have the brain fart. It is what it is. But I think the clicking, the little keys you can give to yourself in the editing to make it easier for you. Um,
Yeah.
is something that most of us probably aren't doing to save us time and energy and make it easier in the editing room.
What's your workflow on that just now, Greg? So if you make a mistake when you're recording, what do you do? Do you listen through full episodes just now, or are you just editing little bits if you need to, or is it mostly live?
Busted. I do not have a podcast yet. It's launching 2026, so I can't even say what I
Ah.
would be doing, right? So
Well,
that's the joys of it,
new
and
workflow
I'll have a
incoming.
team. I get to I guest on people's podcasts, and so it's more of a question I can ask them, like, "What do you guys do? How much of the
Yeah.
editing are you doing in post production because Greg made a mistake?" So yeah,
That must be it because I was sure I had seen you on a few episodes, and I was like, I must have seen your podcast around. But yeah, it must be you're a prolific guester.
yeah. If everyone look, I'll be launching my podcast in 2026. So anyone watching this, you can pay attention. It's called the Podcast Network Insights, and I'll be talking to the heads of podcast networks.
Nice, excellent. Sounds good to me. Perfect. All
Um,
right.
I
Any
don't see any other
questions?
questions. Is there anything
Hmm.
else that you want to cover? I think we covered A, all the questions, and B, an amazing workflow and integration that we've got coming here.
Yeah, great stuff. No, I mean, I would just try and hammer home really. If you're out there podcasting just now, like there's a very good chance, going by the amount of podcasters we've talked to over the last 10, 15 years, there's a very good chance that at least half of you are struggling in some way right now with burnout, with thinking about, is this all worth it? Can I find the time? It's always the biggest thing that comes up. Can I find the time? Can I really fit this into my week? And it really is all about trying to simplify the gear. So think about your equipment, make sure that everything is set up, make sure you're not complicating things. The worst thing you can do is bring in, I mentioned Rodecaster earlier on. That's actually a good one. Like even now, with the experience I have with using this device, I sometimes come in and I've got like a setting has just shifted and something's different. And it takes me 5 or 10 minutes to figure out like, what the heck's happened here. And it turns out my daughter or someone has come in and she's twiddled a knob and it takes me like ages to figure it out. As soon as you add any kind of complication like that, any more complicated device, that's what then stops you from recording so simply, so easily. And just any little thing like that can put you off. So it's such a big part around simplifying that gear and then looking at that workflow. Yeah, trying to figure out that workflow that helps you to not have to edit very much and then figuring out the tools that can really help you edit as much as you can. And then, yeah, get it published onto rss.com and get it monetized and start earning some money out of your podcast.
Nailed it. Structure, strategy, systems, operations. That is, in my mind, a good reason why a lot of us fade out or aren't set up for success. Because either A, we're not set up there, we're not using a tool like Alitu in order to make that simple, easy. And then we're so thinking about how do I make money on this? It's like, great, make it an easy tool. You're going to help you make money so you can grow the show and go from there. So,
Yeah,
Colin, it was
indeed.
great. Thanks so much for joining me for sharing this information, and taking anyone that's watching now live or watching in the future, and insights to how we can go ahead and improve their process, but also improve with a system like Alitu.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's been great fun. Hope it's helped.
I would completely agree. It has. I've learned a lot, and nothing like getting a good demo from someone who's like, I know exactly where I'm going. He makes it look so easy, but you make it easy because you've done it so long. But I think that's why also the tool is easy and really shows off the simplicity of how you can make the editing process.
That's the goal. Yep, indeed. Thank you.
Well, everyone, thank you guys for tuning in. It's amazing to get to do these, but also we have so many more trainings. So go back and watch our previous ones. We have some ones that are coming up. So if you are tuning in live, we've got one coming up in a week in December 9th, talking about how to grow your audience and grow your show. And we've got one in January and February. So thank you, everyone. RSS.com. We are the place to host and monetize your podcast. Look forward to having you all join us and join the community and then checking out Alitu. Thanks a lot, everyone.